Welcome to Real Talk with Miss Brenda. I'm Miss Brenda Spahn from the Lovelady Center. Lots of stories, lots of things going on there, and we're kind of going over the history of the Lovelady Center. Sitting with me today is a friend that was my next door neighbor, and I babysat her when she was a child. I'm guessing I was about 11. Seeing how I'm 40. No, I'm not 40.
She
I'm
was
just
12.
saying that. All right. I don't like to tell my age, and I don't know ever. I can't do it without telling. So if I'm 75, and she was 3, that is 72 years.
No,
No.
I
Yes.
was 3 and you were 12.
I was 12. So 60 years.
Yeah, 63 years.
63 years.
Yes.
I've known her 63 years. A long, hard, miserable 63 years. Pat, I babysat Pat, and it's during my teenage years, and I had a little Volkswagen, and she would cry to go with me. Well, back then you didn't have car seats, so I'd set this kid up, and she's standing me, flinging her all over the car. I mean, this is terrible. And she says I taught her to cuss. Now, I don't know if I did or not. I would have done it because it was funny not to be mean, but I love to hear little kids say words that they shouldn't say. I don't like it now, but I was a dumb teenager. I was a little bit of a rounder. I dated a whole lot, and she would sneak and watch me on my dates, and I would get mad, and she absolutely adored me because I was that older teenage girl next door, and her mother really loved me. She was like a second mother to me, and as we grew up, I got married, and Pat married a nurse, and her mother did not like that. And I remember going into the house, and her mother had my picture, my graduation picture, hanging in the living room where Pat's was supposed to hang. And I said, "Oh, that's not going to work, Catherine." And she said, "Well, I'm just so ashamed of Pat." And that broke my heart. And that was essentially, I've always felt that was essentially one of the things that happened to Pat, that rejection that her mother felt. And she never got along with the husband. And that rejection was so hard. And talk to me, Pat.
Well, my mother, I had to be perfect. I had to even go to the store on the corner, have my makeup and everything be perfect to be seen, because Mother was all about what you saw. And my husband was a registered nurse, so in her mind, he was just a sissy. She called it. She hadn't even met him, but he was. Okay, but he was a good guy, a lot of fun. We were married 23 years, and he died of an overdose. And he was the father of both of my children. He, he tried so hard. He struggled with drugs. I had never been into drugs until I was with him.
And then you and him, you worked at Children's Hospital.
I worked at Children's Hospital. I worked at St. Vincent's Hospital, a total of about 18 years at St. Vincent's, and 5, I think, at Children's.
And you used drugs while you worked?
I did use drugs. I got caught. I used the drugs that were going to be wasted and thrown away, and I would use those. I would act like I was wasting what was to be thrown away, which would be a lot, because you just didn't use very much of the morphine, is what that was. And So I got on that, and it became
You got on the needle heavy, didn't you?
heavy. I wound up having, they said I had anesthetized my gut. So my stomach was locked up. I'd done so much, and they had to do emergency surgery. That's when they told me I had Crohn's disease. But I still didn't have enough sense to stay off the drugs.
You had them delivered to you in the hospital.
I did.
I can't believe that.
I know. I was in the hospital. This is after I quit working at the hospitals. I was in the hospital detoxing. And I got real sick because, believe it or not, I was suffering from malnutrition. I mean, doesn't look like it now, but I was. So, anyway.
None of us look like it now.
I thought, I don't even know if I can say that word. But anyway, they moved me out of that area, the psych area where they detox you. They moved me and put me out on a regular floor so they could watch me closer. And
because they really loved you. You were so good.
Oh.
You know more about medicine than most doctors I go to. You know, you're my go-to.
I've had my nose in it since I was about 18, and but anyway, I was what we call dope sick. I mean, I was coming hard off of heroin. I'd gotten on them.
How did you get on heroin?
Well,
more available?
No. I started out with doctors would write prescriptions for just a ton, 50, 100. There were Lortabs back then. And so I would go to the doctor and get refills.
So you went to morphine to opiate pills?
I went to, yes, because I was no longer working around the morphine.
Uh-huh.
So, you can't really find that. So I started taking pills. Then I became very addicted to the pills. And they came out with OCs, Oxycontin. And by this time, I didn't realize it, but my oldest son was about 25, and my youngest son was probably 18. He had graduated. But when he's the one, he got the OCs, the Oxycontin, and then I did this with my children, and this is where I have so much trouble because I know God's forgiven me, but I don't know yet. I still don't know how Pat can forgive herself.
Did you get John on the drugs?
I didn't get either one of them on them. I just joined in with them instead of getting them help at that time. And now, OxyContin, we would snort it, and then we started shooting it up too. But it became so expensive. Well, it ran out, and the dealer, dope man, said he had something much better, and it was called Boy, and it was cheaper. I didn't know what Boy was. I had no idea. But I took it home, I did it.
And fell in love with it.
Shook hands with the devil right then, because my life went. I never had the life I knew again. I mean, it took everything from me. I was so ashamed because I had been raised in a good family, good neighborhood. I had been raised so well, nobody knew this. And then we were stealing, me and my sons, both of them, I wouldn't do it, but out peddling for money. And I see these poor people, and we were homeless half the time. We moved back into my house when I was a child. My daddy died. We stayed there with him till he died.
Now you have a lot of guilt about your dad,
I have
too.
tremendous guilt because
He was such a good man.
He was, and he loved me. He loved me. He believed nothing bad about me. I was his sissy, and that's what he called me. And
Now, all this time, I was talking to her dad and her mother before she died, and I was keeping up with Pat, and I knew what was going on, but I stayed out of it because I didn't have the center. And a couple of times I hired you to do stuff, and I tried to be there for her, but I didn't know what to do with her. She's out there doing drugs all the time with her husband.
I was doing only what I wanted to do at that time. Nobody could.
She didn't want me.
I didn't want help.
Nobody wants me when they're doing bad.
I was from Green Acres,
Put that a little closer.
Where?
No, to your mouth. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I was from Green Acres. That was embarrassing. I didn't want people to know. Nobody should have known my past. Or the ones that knew my past should know my present. Maybe that's the way I went. And but I wound up for years overdosing, just all the time, living, supposedly taking care of my father. After my mother died, me and my son, one of them, were there.
And your daddy, still working?
Yes, my daddy was. He died at 82 in 2011, and he still got up to go to work every day at 4:30 in the morning. And I just did horrible things. I mean, I would run the car out of gas, and didn't even think about him having to drive, and he would walk to work because he'd run out of gas. I would sit and wait on that poor man, wait on him to get his check on Wednesdays in the back where the trucks came up where Daddy worked for Piggly Wiggly on the loading dock. And I would wait there for him to get that check. And I would lie about all the reasons I needed money. And he would say, I got you, sissy, that's fine. And I was just buying dope. But I tried to tell him when he was on the ventilator, and he got off for a minute, and I was able to put my head over on him. I said, Daddy, I'm so sorry.
Your daddy forgives you, and God forgives you for this. Let's go a little further. So your daddy died.
My daddy died.
And you and John and Jason lived in that house.
Yes, and there was no power, no running water. We lived in there, and it was gonna. Daddy had gotten one of those loans where they could take the house when you die or something.
Backward reverse mortgage.
Reverse mortgage, something like that. And so the house, of course, was going to go at some point, but we stayed there. And
how long were y'all able to live in that house like that?
Let's see, maybe close to a year.
No power.
Nothing.
No water. And you were clean free.
Oh, I know. I would go to
How would you shampoo your hair?
my neighbors.
Wasn't it cold?
Yes, I would run their gallon milk jugs with water from there.
You couldn't heat them?
No, we didn't have anything to
Did you
heat
sit
them.
there through Christmas and Thanksgiving?
It was so cold on Christmas, we couldn't sit outside. Couldn't sit inside. It was warmer outside on the deck and blankets around us. And then I heard something out in front, and I went to the front door, and my next door neighbor on the other side, Laura Hinton, had come by there and left a big bag of just Christmas food, leftovers, tons. And we were so hungry. That was our Christmas. It was great. But, after that, I got put.
Now, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah. Well, that was in December, and by February, I had me and my son. He stole a lawnmower and to go pawn it in February. And so, but we were walking down the road to the pawn shop. Oh, Lord. And so the police pulled by us, and throw up their hand, wave, and we do too. And they kind of went around the curve where you couldn't see them. I guess they made a U-turn around there because we see them coming back at us. And, of course, they pulled us over on our feet. And so and ran our names. And, of course, Jason, he just got to go on with, takes the lawnmower. They arrested me for a failure to appear. Well, that leads up to when I get to the Loveladies.
Okay, so that's truly a miracle.
Yeah,
Tell what happened there.
Absolutely. And when I got to I was in jail, and I didn't know anybody knew this because I didn't want I was too embarrassed to let the people that knew me back
You knew I
then.
had the center.
Yeah, I knew, but I didn't want to let you know I was one of them. So
I mean,
I didn't want anybody. So then, while I'm in jail,
you were not a social user. You just used
I didn't,
with your two boys.
I didn't share. No. So,
I wouldn't have wanted to try to get it from you.
but anyway, me and Jason, oh Lord, that was December when they took me to jail.
With the lawnmower.
With the lawnmower. And no, that was February. I'm sorry, it was February. And then I got put in jail that time. And so the Lovelady has a call center that they call people to get, anything donated to the thrift stores. So one of the girls that was in the program at the time when I came in, her name's Tracy McConnell, and I do thank her forever for this. But my aunt called to donate, and or they called my aunt for a donation. That's what it was. My aunt's number had come up, and she said, who she was, and she said, "Oh my goodness, is this Brenda Lovelady's place?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "I've got to talk to Brenda. I've got to. My niece is in bad shape, and she's bad on heroin, and she's in jail." And so she said, "I've got to talk to her." Well, the center's so big, I can't believe somehow Tracy got that message to give to somebody else, to give it to Brenda. And then I look up.
I called, and she told me what's going on. And so I got the legal department, we got to working on it. I said, I can get her. I can get her here. I said, I have made a vow to her parents and to my parents, I will get her here. So I sent Tammy Porter, that's right. I sent Tammy, who was our legal liaison, I sent her to court. And she calls me from court and she says, I said, "Do you see her?" She said, "Yes." She said, "But we don't want her." I said, "What are you talking about, we don't want her?" She said, "I think that she's crazy." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "She is screaming at the judge. She's beating on the pews, beating on the tables." And I mean, I know her. You can pull it out and get a little more comfortable. Okay. I know her so well, I'm like, beating on stuff? She said, "Yes." She says, "I've never seen anybody like this." She said she's got on her shackles and she is just tearing it up. And the judge wants to send her to Georgia. They have a mental program in Georgia. And the judge wants to send her to Georgia. He says that we probably can't handle this one. She was crazy. Okay, go ahead.
That's it. No, I'm just kidding. No.
What were you doing acting like that?
Because I thought that Tammy was going to take me out that day. And the judge and the caseworker from Task came in, and the Task caseworker and told him not to. And I got mad, and I pitched a fit because he wouldn't let me go that day to Lovelady. And he told my caseworker she had 1 week to find me a place, and that was all because I'd already been in jail for 30 days. So he, anyhow, I waited another month. They took me to court. Let's see, the day before my next court date, which I had stayed in jail another month.
Were you, by this time you're detoxed?
Oh, yeah, I was detoxed off everything. But they came in there the day before my court date and told me I could be released to come to Lovelady. So, I mean, that was a miracle. I was scared.
Were you excited to see me?
Oh, cool, my gosh, yes. You know, I went straight to you. And then she said, oh, we've got to do something with that hair. She said, you look terrible.
He had her hair down here, and it was gray, and it was all over. And she had these wild eyes. I said, whoa, your mama wouldn't want this. So right that day, went to the beauty salon.
Yeah, she even did my hair herself, pulling it through her cap, the old-fashioned way with the box.
I would do anything for this lady, anything. So she started through the program, and oh my God, I want to sit here and tell y'all, she never looked back. Relapse is part of recovery, we said. Pat has had the last, how many years?
Clean?
10.
I've been there 12 years. So, but the past...
We have gone through relapse.
Oh, yes.
After relapse. Her sons, I even brought her sons into my house because she wanted it to be a package deal.
Yeah.
She wanted her sons to be well, and she wanted to be well. If her sons couldn't be well, she didn't want to be well.
I was so worried all the time about them if I didn't know.
It was all or nothing with her.
And it was. I mean, it was terrible.
She has cried this building full of tears.
Yeah, I have. And Brenda, you know, I was so mad at me because when I first saw the cup of water in my son's room, I had no idea what it was on his dresser. And I would pour it out, and another one would be there. And then I found out it's to pull up in a syringe to mix with the heroin. But, you know, instead of me stopping it there, I just jumped in like I was a buddy. And I'm the mother that both pregnancies, I would not smoke a cigarette, wouldn't drink a glass of wine. I had to make sure they were perfect. And when they were born, I was the house mom, the team mom with all their baseball. I put them in Catholic school in about the 5th grade for my oldest, and my youngest was 1st grade. So I just wanted everything to be so perfect for them.
And John had gone to jail, prison.
Yet John, my oldest son, wound up going to prison. Oh, gosh. Well, John got out of prison right before. My dad was still alive when John got out of prison. But he was very bad. John was forging prescriptions and just writing people.
Brilliant medical mind.
Yeah.
The whole family on the dad's side, they're just brilliant medical people. Anesthesiologists, doctors. John actually went to St. Vincent's and put on a coat and played doctor.
That was at Montclair.
Played doctor and wrote prescriptions. This is a story. Everybody in the world needs to hear this story to know there's hope.
Yes. John.
And I don't want to get too gruesome here, but I want to tell, because where you are now, and Jason.
Yes, I have Jason, my youngest son, who also was an addict just as bad as us. Oh, he's probably worse. And I I was so afraid something would happen to my kids. That's all I could think of. But John, after we got,
But still do drugs with them.
I know it, but I was not doing the drugs when I got to the center. I mean, when I came with you, I had stopped, but they were still out there doing them, and it was driving me crazy. But I could not tell you. I mean, it was so sick that a mother could do this, and still,
You get me.
I would be hysterical if I couldn't get them on the phone. If they didn't answer, I would give
And
them
she
my
would take off
money.
in the car and get arrested.
I would get my money and give to them. I would just let them.
One time she OD'd, and she was in Medical Center East, St. Vincent's East.
I was also at the center, in the center.
And I stood over her, and I just blessed her out, And so I go back out, and I sit there, and all of a sudden, St. Vincent's East is covered up with cops. Covered up with cops. I thought, if she's gotten back there and done something, I am going to cut her head off. Well, sure enough, they called me. She had gotten in the bathroom, locked the door with drugs. I think that was your last big hoorah.
Oh, that definitely. As far as a big hoorah,
That was, you went out, lights, cops, everything, and there I see it.
Now, when I woke up because I overdosed, but when I came around, I heard this voice, and I opened my eyes, and it was a woman with red hair and red lipstick over my face, saying, "You have done it now. You have embarrassed me so much."
I was so embarrassed. I'm sitting here, and she's my friend, and I can't do anything to help her. Or they take her to jail. When they take her to jail, I wanted to leave her there so bad. But she's not good in jail. She loses her mind. Her mind gets gone. And I thought I'd better get her out. So I go, and all I can think about is her mom and daddy and my mom and daddy. And I promised them I would take care of her. But I didn't know what I was promising. And so I go and I say, I pay the fine, the bond, and I'm sitting there waiting for her to come out. The way you do it, jail, and you wait and wait on those hard seats. My back and butt was killing me. And
3 o'clock in the morning.
And she comes out, and I see her, and I start toward her, and she sees me. She's coming out of the jail, and she turns around and goes back in and tells them she has decided she wants to stay. I went over there. I said, "Get her out of here now." She's decided to stay in jail to keep me getting on to her.
Wow, that smile when I walked out, that was a very scary smile. Like, I knew that wasn't a real smile. You were smiling at me. So, remember, I have known you since I was 3. So, yes, you could.
I'm like a second mother, even
She
though
is.
I'm just 11 years older.
9.
Okay, so I'm going to run through some of this next for you because
Please
it's so
do.
difficult. So, Jason ODs in Gulf Shores, and we go down there and we wait for days because they said he probably wasn't going to make it. And Jason made it. And we were so relieved. And Jason came back from that. And Jason got a job, married a woman from the center who is absolutely phenomenal. They have 2 children. He has got a job making so much money. They've got a house. Oh my goodness, they are doing wonderful. So that left Pat and John. And so one day I get a call, and nobody wanted to tell anybody anything. And they call me and tell me that John has passed. He OD'd. And I had to go and get my best friend in the world. And I had to tell her the news that she had waited for 20-something years.
40. Yeah, he'd been on drugs. He was 41 when it happened.
How many years had he been on drugs?
Since he was about 25, yeah.
About 20 years
Yeah,
back.
about 20 years.
And I had to tell her that her beautiful, brilliant son had passed. He OD'd. She had lost her husband to OD. Now she lost her beloved oldest son to he OD'd. And Pat had to face that devil.
It has been the hardest part. I can't think about him. I have so much trouble thinking about him. I'm doing better, but after John died, I wanted to die in my mind because Jason was married and had his family. And I just felt like I needed to be with John.
Yeah.
And that's not, I know that's a wrong way to think.
We're past that.
I know we are now. Talking about when it happened, those first few weeks. Brenda kept me at her house and took care of me the first 2 weeks. 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
I wouldn't let her leave my house.
They wouldn't even give me my keys. And that I can't even put into words how hard it still is. It was April 19th of 2021 is when it happened. And I never grieved. I got mad at God. And I couldn't believe after I did everything they said a praying mother should do. And my baby still died. And so I have been angry for so long. And I loved the Lord. I was just so mad. Because my baby was in a laundry room on a concrete floor. And they'd been there all night. And I just wondered if he'd call out for me. Or if he just things like that go through your mind. But anyway, we got through it. I finally started getting out of bed a little bit, and I had to go on medication and stuff for depression and for sleep. It still haunts me. But then this past October, my son John, his oldest son, my first grandson, Jordan, is 25. He was an electrician, and he had to climb up on a house, and the ladder, he fell off the ladder and broke his neck. They life flighted him to Nashville and said it wasn't as bad as they thought. They did surgery on it, and they sent him home. I think two or 3 days after the surgery, and the ride was from Memphis to, from Nashville to Pelham. So he went to bed that night, and he didn't wake up. He had a pulmonary embolism from that surgery. So I lost Jordan too. He was my first grandson.
He was John's oldest son.
And it was John's oldest son. So through this all, I've gone down, and I've gotten away from people. I've always been a real people person, but I've just gotten by myself and stayed away from anybody. It was too hard. You don't want to talk about this to people. It makes people uncomfortable, and I get it. They don't want to see me cry. And I know they love me, but I just don't feel like I'm good company.
Yes, you are.
I isolated for probably most of this year, up until June, I guess.
So what I do is she has medication she has to take for blood pressure and all. I keep her medicine at my house.
Yeah.
So she has to come see me every single day.
Every day. I have to go to her house.
She'll want somebody to bring it out to the car and say, no, we gotta come in. I have to see her. And I have to get her out of the house. And now she has a beautiful new grandson named Luke.
His name's John Luke, after my son that passed is John. So he's John Luke, and I've kept him. He's 18 months old. I know he has been sent from God. I have no doubt. We found out we found out Angela was pregnant right after, in the summer, after John had died at 21. And so shortly after, Angela was pregnant. And so in 23, we had little baby Luke.
And Luke is a climber, and she can't catch him. And I say, well, just keep trying. I mean, Luke has given her a new lease on life.
He has, that baby.
I know.
He's look at him. Everybody else likes to take him somewhere and put him to sleep.
And, we have Pat a room at the center. She's not still in the program. But everybody knows you don't mess with Pat. Nobody can mess with Pat. You call Miss Brenda if there's a problem.
I try not to act like I'm special. I'm just kidding.
She does not. She throws the big word around all the time.
That's the B word right there, the Brenda.
This woman, if you make a commitment to God and to others, and you make a vow, I do not take it lightly at all. I am telling you, I will look after her as long as there's a breath of life in her. Sometimes it's harder than other times, but I love to be with her. But all this guilt and shame that Pat goes through is nailed on the cross. Jesus died for this.
I know.
And she's just now getting where she believes it some.
I do.
And I think on this program it is very important for us to see that everything's not a 1, 2, 3 cookie cutter, you're over drugs, that's it. There have been, she wants to sleep. She wants to sleep all the time. And therefore, I won't let her have but one little sleeping pill. And she chases me, want more. I say, no. It's not that I think she can't handle her own medicine. It's just that she can't handle her own medicine. I love this woman.
And I love this woman.
She has so much to give. She has so much to give.
Back in June, I got a little sick, and it was my depression, they said. I'm out of time.
You're fine.
But anyway, I had to go in the hospital, and I was not well in the hospital. I was off. I had no drugs in me. It was nothing. They tested me for everything.
Anniversary comes.
Yeah, it was so. But while I was in there, though, I was just so agitated. And then for like 4 days, and they gave me medicine to go to sleep. I started an IV, and I slept about 36 hours. And I woke up, I don't know how or what, with the peace of God in me that I've never had in my life. And I love it so much. I still find myself agitated, but I go to Him. And for the first time in my life, I feel like sometimes that the Lord's arms are around me, just holding me. When I get, really depressed, I can envision Him doing this, and it carries me through. And since June 21st is the day, I have never really read the Bible, but I started reading, and I just started with Matthew. I read them twice. I read a few chapters and then go back and reread what I did. And I finally found a Bible, the NIV, that I can understand some. But it's not something I do because I feel like I have to anymore. When I get settled at night, I read. I sit in my chair, no telephones, nothing, and I just read. And the peace and the understanding it brings me. And I just beg Him not to ever let go of my hand, ever. And to keep the peace in me that I have now. I don't want to go back to that person that I became.
She has 3, count Adam, 4, 5. She still has 5 grandchildren, and she's very close with them. She has me, a brother, and Jason. If Jason can't find her, I'm on 911 call to him. And, we keep our eye on her. And Pat gave her life to Jesus many years ago. But sometimes God doesn't promise us the easy thing. He says, when trials come at you, not if. And this woman has walked through some trials. Now, some of it is consequences of actions. But
Yes, I mean, absolutely. Yeah,
it was love. It's weird. It was love that she wanted to be with her boys, and they did drugs, so she might as well do them too with her. But Jason is past that, and Pat is past that, and we're going to be fine.
And my John is in the best place.
John was an old soul, and
very sweet.
Dying was something that it just happened. He passed from this life to the next. But I love you.
I love you.
And I know this is a hard thing for you. But I think this is very good. And I want people to know. That's why we're calling this Real Talk. This is real talk. And I love all of y'all that listen, and thank you for it. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank y'all.